We need a chair. You can use your ottoman, you can use your couch. If you have to have a wheelie chair, just make sure it's pushed up against something solid because it's going to move. The other thing you'll need is 1 to 2 blankets and then 2 bed pillows, and then optional is 1 to 2 throw pillows if you are feeling like you might need some extra props. They're just optional, so don't feel like you have to have all of those things. It's better to have more than not enough. So we'll get started. We're going to start facing the seat. So the important thing here is if you have tight hips, that you give yourself a little lift. We're going to sit cross-legged. So if your hips are really tight, you could use support underneath your knees with your blankets. You could fold them up and support. You could also fold your blanket up and sit on the edge so that your hips tilt forward. If you need more hip stretching, you could always take one leg, so bottom leg, stack one on top of the other. So if you need a little bit more hip stretch, you can do that. Legs up the wall. Jade. We might get to that, or a variation of that today, Jade. So I hear you. It's my favorite too. So cross-legged, whether that's stacked or actually crossed. And then we're going to fold. So you can move your chair or yourself closer or farther away. We want a nice elongated torso. So the option here is you could stack your hands and rest your forehead. If you're wanting to work on shoulders down, you could rest your hands down on the floor. You could also, if your chair is like mine, this is kind of cold. So I'm going to take my blanket out because I don't need it and place it here for my forehead so that I have something soft. So shoulders down the back, ideally. You could also just rest your hands there. And so like I said, we sit in chairs or on our couch a lot more probably than we're used to. So this is going to be our friend today in a different way. And so keeping the spine long, we're sinking the hips toward the earth. And for me, I'm going to scoot back a little bit because I need a little more stretch. If you feel like the chair is in your way and you want to fold, by all means, I just made like a little tent for myself here. Take this how you would like, but the idea is to rest the forehead on a surface. And we find our breath here. So checking in, did you set your legs up to where this might be too intense for you? You could always start cross-legged and work to a stacked leg. How is your breath feeling right now? The breath is so vital right now, especially with what this virus is. It's a primarily respiratory virus, so our breath is really important to have our lungs strong and keeping ourselves in that centered space so that because what can happen is if we feel panicked, our breathing also feels a lot like the symptoms. So really staying focused on breathing into the belly rather than the upper chest and constricting our rib cage. We want to breathe down into our belly. If you're feeling that sense of overwhelm, we can have that collective anxiety in through the nose and a soft, relaxed face here as you exhale out the mouth. And as things start to open up, if you feel your hip is starting to open up, whatever leg's in front or on top is the hip being stretched. You can always adjust how you are resting. So when I teach classes in a studio setting, we usually have a mantra every week. And if you follow me, which if you're following me, you know too that we have a mantra every week. I use this in our classes. So this week's mantra is to see with integrity. And so that's really just holding things out in front of you and seeing it at face value rather than letting our emotions, our expectations suck us into what should be. I'm doing the air quotes with my fingers. Should be. That's an expectation. And rather just holding it out in front and saying, you know, this is where it is right now. And these are the actual sensations I'm feeling in my body. And I'm having an emotional response. And then just seeing it as it is, rather than through all the filters and layers that we learn over time from our teachers, from our family, from friendships, from community. And they're all useful. But we can also see things in a different light with expectations and such. So it can make things more tense sometimes too. So we can do this in our bodies by noticing what's stirring in the hips, maybe, in the back, in the breath. And let's slowly roll up. We're going to rest our hands on the seat. We're going to rest one arm out in front and the other arm's going to reach for the knee and twist. You can reach a little farther if you have space. So we're opening up the side body. We're going to do this on both sides, so don't worry if you're feeling like you're doing the right or wrong side because that's just not a thing. We're going to do both. So it is what it is. There's your seeing with integrity, letting go of right or wrong in this moment and just being in your body. I'm going this direction. When we breathe into the side here, we'll come back and switch. So switch which arm is extending, which arm is reaching, and breathe into the side body on the other side. We'll roll up and switch the cross or stack of the legs. So again, whatever leg's in front or on top is the hip that is getting stretched out here. So finding that space. So this hip might be tighter than the other side, and that's okay. We just honor things as they are. Slowly move into the space. So for my left hip's a little tighter. And then we sink back in, finding your breath in your belly, maybe even moving it to the back or the hips. Shoulders soften. And knowing that this cleansing breath in through the nose, out through the mouth is always accessible. So if something's really tight or tense or overwhelming, take that breath and really encourage the nervous system to settle and soothe. It serves as a reminder that you are in your body, that you're in a safe place. kind of reminding our ego that, hey, you don't have to tell me how to push harder or go more. Our ego is here to keep us safe and comforted and the fight or flight response. And so in yoga, sometimes it tells us to go more, rather than just finding that place of integrity. I am where I am, and I need to breathe here. And again, restorative is all about time. So we have time to sink into the spaces we're working on. And we don't have to go to the farthest maximum point right away. We can ease into that spot. Each exhalation, we're offering up a surrender and sinking into our body, our home. Each inhalation, we're bringing vital energy, the life-giving force that our breath brings, right back to that spot. So encouraging circulation, blood flow, oxygen. Slowly roll up again. Ooh, that sun's bright. All right, we're gonna extend the arm, thread the needle, reaching for your opposite knee, creating a twist, really extending that top arm and breathing into the side body. So you don't have to drop your shoulder all the way down to your knee. You could stay elevated, you could stay all the way upright. It all depends on your body. We'll come up and switch. Almost need my sunglasses here. I'll take it. I'll take the sunshine. Breathing into the side body again. So we'll roll up. And we're going to create some circles here. If you're wondering what's going on in my space, my dogs are on the other side of the door wrestling because that's what they naturally do when I'm trying to have a conversation with anybody. They're just playing. Change direction of the circle, just getting some circulation going in the hips up to the heart. And then we'll come to a neutral spine. We're going to take the hands to the chair and come around to a tabletop, and this is where I crack my corny joke. Table and chair, ha ha ha. We're going to drop the heart toward the earth and pull the hips back and just stretch the shoulders out here. Let your head hang down if that's comfortable. You can even shake the head out. Breathe into the shoulder space, the heart space on the front body. And then we're going to pull the heart back up And we're gonna extend one leg and push the heel back. So it's off camera, but I'm pushing my heel toward the floor. And then we'll step forward. So I generally, for my alignment, use the chair to stack knee and ankle. So my knee is resting right up against the chair. And then the back knee we want pretty close to a right angle as well. And then we're going to twist into that knee, maybe reaching for the back of the knee. If you have space to pick up the back foot and catch it, don't force it. I'm going to get my socks off here. So maybe you can't catch the foot, you could always pick it up and just reach for the back of the knee or catch the shin. But just because you choose one thing doesn't mean it's permanently there. You can always change it. Now let's come back to center. I'm going to take my other sock off so I don't feel awkward here. Tuck your back toes. We're going to lift the knee and straighten the front leg, pressing your back heel down. So it might require you to step your back foot forward. If you have socks on and you're not using a mat and you're on hardwood floor, you might want to take your socks off so you don't slip and fall here. Pyramid pose. Now, if you need to adjust your footing so your toes are pointing directly in line with the legs of the chair, you can do that. You could have them a little closer together, like heel to heel. And then we're resting the forehead down again. So if this is too far, this is where your pillows, a throw pillow might be a little bit smaller and ideal for this. And you can either rest your arms up on your chair or hold on to the legs of the chair, or just let your arms hang down. And we're breathing into the back of the front leg, maybe the calf muscle on the back leg. And notice, are you squeezing anywhere in the hips? So normally when we practice this pose in an active asana practice, active posture, we're squeezing the thigh muscles together, the inner thigh muscles together. This, we're just keeping things elongated. Legs, spine. We're just pushing the feet into the floor and keeping the hips and the inner thigh muscles relatively soft here. And remembering, as we sink into the body, you may feel intensity starting to build in the stretch. Know that you can always lift yourself up a little bit. You can always rest on your forearms if you feel like you need to come out of it. Please, by all means, give yourself a break on this if it gets too intense. Because restorative can create some new pain because we're working through layers of tension. And so our circulation starts ramping up and we've got oxygen flow and everything, can create a new sensation in our bodies that, you know, we have to work through and give ourselves permission to like back up a little bit and then come back into it. And notice, keep checking in. Our body's muscle memory can be just tension. So notice, I keep checking myself and my hips keep squeezing here. And I try to soften them. And as you catch yourself, notice if you're offering up judgment to yourself. This is where we can see with integrity. Integrity, we're offering up kind, loving awareness of our bodies. We're not being harsh and critical. We're not judging. It just is. Oh, I'm catching myself tensing again. That might be muscle memory. It may not be. Just an interesting thing to note. So let's take our hands to the chair. We're going to lift the torso up. And so whatever leg is forward, we're going to take the opposite hand down. So my right leg's forward, my left hand's down, and then I'm going to take my right hand to my waist and twist. If you need more intensity, you can take your left arm down. You could even take your right arm and rest the back of the hand to your low back if you need a little more shoulder stretching. So we're getting the outside edge of the front leg stretched out all the way into the hip, the low back a little bit here. So structurally, we want to keep an open spine as we're twisting. Could even turn your head and neck up toward the ceiling. You could also keep your gaze toward your forearm, or you can be looking out at the horizon. So twists help loosen spinal muscles as well. You just may be feeling the intensity more in the legs here and the hip. So we're going to come back, hands to the seat, and we're going to step the front leg back for a downward facing dog. So supported. We're stretching out and decompressing the low spine. Heels can touch the floor here. We're stretching out the shoulders. You can even let your head hang down. Other offerings of this, you could use the wall. My personal favorite, if I've been in the kitchen baking, which I'm going to be doing today, I hook my hands in the kitchen sink and really pull my hips back so that this is all opening. Because I'm hunched over the mixer and trying to get everything set up. So, fun tip, you can do yoga in your kitchen. Anything can become a prop. And let's lower down, hands and knees. Back to our supported child's pose. Stretching out the shoulders a little bit more. We'll lift the heart up, extend the opposite leg back. So then press your heel down toward the floor, doesn't have to touch. Step, getting your alignment, knee to ankle, knee to hip. And then we're going to twist again. So reaching back toward the hip, your back of your knee, maybe picking up the back foot or catching it. No force here. We're right where you need to be in your own body. No judgments, no attachments of expectations or outcomes. You're in your body, and it is where it is today. So if you've been doing a lot of sitting, you might have a lot of extra tension in the body, and that's okay. Noticing if any shoulds or ought tos come creeping in with this. Oh, I should be standing up more. I should be exercising more. Treat every day with new, clear lenses, because we're all experiencing different things every day, every hour. And all we can do is just offer up kindness to ourselves right now with this. Let's release, come back to center, tuck the back toes. We're going to lift the knee. Maybe hop that back foot forward just to get yourself steady and stable. If you need to take your feet hip distance apart or even to the width of the chair in line with the legs. And then we're going to fold again. being mindful, how does the front leg feel all the way up to the hip? How does the back calf feel? Arms can be on the seat, holding onto the chair, letting the arms hang down. And checking in, noticing if there's any judgment. Oh, my right side's better than my left, or my left side's bad or worse or better. Check those things. Maybe come back to my left side's really tight, sore. That doesn't make it bad. It just makes it what you're feeling. And these are all mindfulness practices that I'm sharing with you. Just being mindful. There's no judgment in mindfulness. And that's where we see with integrity, in a mindful state. Check on your gripping. Where are you tensing? Can you soften and sink into or come back out of? So if it feels too intense, so my left side's a lot tighter, I'm going to come out of it for me. Really support myself a little bit more. Lift the torso up. Remember, opposite hand down. So my left leg's forward, my right hand's down here. We're going to take hand to waist and twist toward the front leg, maybe resting the back of your hand on your low back. Maybe coming down to your forearm if you feel like you need that extra little lift. Again, softening the hips, the backs of the legs, noticing if you're trying to guard or protect. And then we'll return, plant the hands. We're going to step back to our downward facing dog again. If you need to do a little bicycle here, you can do that. And back down to our knees and our supported child's pose. We're going to come up and around to seated again. So, if you have a chair with an opening underneath, you can sit just as I am, either legs extended through or heels wide. If you happen to be practicing with an ottoman, you can't do that. So what you can do is come to the corner and do heels wide. So you've got the soft corner. And then if you're using a couch, this might be a little tricky. You could probably do the same thing, kind of like a straddle with the armrest. You'll just need to adjust yourself for how far you fold. So we're going to do a fold. And again, if you're feeling like you need a little support under the hips, you can tuck your pillow or blanket under your seat to tilt a little forward and then adjusting how far you need to fold. Again, arms can be up here. If you're working on shoulders away, I really encourage maybe holding on to the legs of the chair or letting your hands rest down. And then you can add your extra little pillows or extra folded blankets. You could even double up what you've got and rest. So I really encourage straight legs and just adjusting where your heels land on the floor. How wide are your heels? How far out are you going? Is it too much? Go to where you can straighten the legs and keep this open elongation. You could also tuck your, if you need soft knees, tuck your throw pillows underneath for a little extra support. Coming back to breath. Remembering it's a sinking into the body. So if you need to sink it a little farther, you can always adjust. And same thing with moving away and working on, you don't have to always use the chair. It's not permanently a part of the practice. If you're hypermobile, by all means, forms of propping if you need. Fold your pillows and rest. I just wanted to offer up a new tool for everyone to be able to use in their day-to-day. You can take little pieces of this if you need a 10-minute work break, just remember a couple of poses and use these tools. Again, as you're sinking in, are you starting to tense your body to force it to happen, or are you tensing your body to protect a sore spot that's not quite ready to open up? And you know that you can come back. You have permission, give yourself permission to come back. Roll up nice and slow. Let's keep the legs just as they are. Breathe into the open spaces that we've created here. Keep your chair close by, because we're going to use this in a moment. And we're going to carefully bring the feet together in a butterfly stretch. And we're going to take your pillows so that the long edge is away from you, short edge is closest to you. And first we're going to fold forward in cobblers, Baddha Konasana, support If you feel like you want to stretch your back out, you can tuck your arms underneath the shin and let your legs kind of anchor the arms down and drawing the shoulders away. If that's too intense, keep your arms on top and just rest your hands on your feet. Maybe you start to notice that your hips are a little tense. You can always bolster under the knees with the throw pillows or your blankets. Let's roll up, keeping the feet together. You have your arms underneath the leg, arms here, and then we're gonna have our pillows. I have a king and a regular size pillow from our bedroom, so it might look a little awkward, but then we lay back, and our whole torso, head, everything is supported. So if you feel like you're not, this is where those extra pillows and blankets can help tuck under your head, can tuck under your knees. If you're feeling like your knees are almost upright, you could always, slide your feet a little farther away from the hips, so we're creating a diamond shape. Or you can cross the legs like we began. And if all else fails, just straighten the legs. No one's making you other than you. Stay. So you have the choice to surrender to whatever is needed. And then with the arms, you can play around with extending overhead. You could have goalposts. If you need more grounding security, heart and belly, or stacked. Just kind of play around. You might feel one way and then need to go the exact opposite with your arms. So we did all of this folding, and now we get to open the front body. Heart starts to peel open a little bit, soft, shoulders soften, belly and solar plexus are all opening with the breath. If you're feeling any pinching in your low back, you can always press your feet, lift your hips, and scoot the tailbone down a little bit just to open up the low spine. And so here we're directing breath into belly, maybe letting it rise as far as we can get it without the extra force. So letting your breath capacity be where it is without trying to fill to the point where your rib cage is wanting to squeeze against you. Just let it fill where it needs to fill and then let it fall back. And so sometimes I integrate this in with this posture in my classes. And Sunday, it's like the beginning and end here. We end one week and we begin a new week here on this day. So we're breathing in, we're letting the heart soften open. We breathe out, we're creating surrender, we're sinking into the posture. We make our adjustments as needed. And so, as your heart is opening, I'd love for you to think of at least one thing. Does not have to be gargantuan. One thing that you are thankful for this week, this past week that's happened. One gratitude. And gratitudes can get you through some of the roughest stuff. I can attest to that. And if we can find the smallest things to be thankful for, other big stuff that we sometimes hold on to really tightly may not matter as much. So if we can find gratitude for what happened this week, mine is that I got to teach in a different capacity. I got to teach a crafting thing on Friday, which was really fun. So I got to use a different part of my brain. One thing you're thankful for this week, and then one person that you're thankful for this week. We can still virtually connect with one another. One person that you're thankful for this week. And what I want you to do is picture them in your mind's eye as you're breathing in. And as you breathe out, really focus on that gratitude, leaving your heart center and moving to that person. It's like those of you who grew up in the 80s and 90s know the Care Bear stare. It's kind of like that, coming from our heart instead of our bellies. So Care Bear stare, that gratitude to the person, or if you want to send love to a person that maybe you haven't been able to see and actually be in contact with. So maybe one gratitude, one love, or maybe it's all in the same person. And then we turn inward. One thing that you are thankful for about you that got you through this week. It could be a gift, it could be your humor, it could be your creativity, it could be your patience. One thing you are grateful for about you. And so hold yourself in this awareness. And if it's difficult as an adult self, maybe hold yourself in the child like sense. So picturing yourself when you were 5, if that's easier. Breathe that loving gratitude into your heart space and then let it melt into your body on a cellular level. We're just absorbing our own loving gratitude for ourselves.